Hello, all. Greetings from my living room in central New Jersey. Um, Coming live after Rutgers gets a second straight win, has their first win streak since the last week of December. They beat Penn and Delaware State. It's their first true road win of the year. They had been 0-7 in true road games up until today, and puts itself in position to um, earn a bye in the Big Ten tournament. They get a game up ahead of Maryland now, who's playing Northwestern right now on the road. They're 2 games ahead of Penn State, uh, 2 games ahead of Oregon and Northwestern, and the tiebreakers will be a little complicated, but um, ultimately, if does come down to head-to-head, Rutgers has an advantage over 3 of the bottom teams in the league. Take that for what it's worth. But I haven't even said what the score of the game was, so I apologize. It was Rutgers 85, Penn State 72. Rutgers led for all but 6 seconds. They won the opening tip. They did the alley-oop play to Emmanuel Obole, who dunked it, gave them a 2-0 lead. They led from there. They went up. They scored the first 11 points of the game. They went up by as much as 20 in the second half. Penn State brought it to 8 with 2 minutes to go. A little shaky, but Rutgers was able to bounce back, answer, and ultimately put Penn State away. This was not the reverse of the game there 3 years ago, where Derek Simpson led them to a shocking comeback, and they came back from 19 down. Rutgers was able to hold its win here, and the final score will not indicate it because Penn State did score 72 points, and it feels like they made the last 100 shots. Penn State, after starting the game, 1 of 10, went 26 to 47. They made 18 of their last 26 shots. 18 of their last 26 shots. With 121 left in the first half, Penn State 8 of 21 from the floor. They made from there 18 of their next 26 shots, including 5 straight, 3 straight, 3 straight, and 4 straight streaks. So this could have been a game where Rutgers won, by a massive margin, 30, 40 points if they kept up their defensive pace in the first half. And it's a game where a couple of people said, in our Discord that, or I should say one person, I think it was JP Giro, said that this was a game he felt weird about, like a game where Penn State could come back at any time. And I understand that because Rutgers was dominating the whole game, but just was not pulling away. But what matters for Rutgers ultimately is that they won. And again, their early dominance and the reason they were able to really coast the whole game was an incredible defensive first half. They held Penn State to 20 points in the first half. They forced 10 turnovers and allowed 10 scores. So as many possessions ended for Penn State as a turnover as a score. And Penn State missed its first 6 shots, not its first 10. Again, Rutgers got out to an 11-0 lead and really went from there. Tariq Francis had a big game, led them with 22 points on 7 of 12 shooting. Big first half, 15 points on 5 of 9 shooting from the field, 5 of 6 on free throws, 4 assists and a steal. He ends with 22 points, 7 assists, 3 rebounds, 3 turnovers, 2 steals. And he went 7 of 8 from the free throw line. So good performance from him offensively, got to a spot, drew a ton of fouls. Hit a 3 at the end with 2 minutes left that put Rutgers up 13 when things were teetering a little bit. So big, not only did he score a lot, he hit them in key situations. 1, to help them pull ahead early, and 2, to close the game out. So good performance from Tariq Francis. Dylan Grant sputtered out a bit at the end, but excellent start to the game. I should say he was great to start, great to finish, a little middling in the middle, but 7 points on 3 or 4 shooting in the first half. And then in the final, where are we at? Let's see. 7 points in the first half, and then 2 quick scores in the start of the second half, and then a tip in and 2 free throws with 3 minutes left that, again, helped Rutgers kind of keep Penn State at arm's length. So good performance from him. Efficient performance from Dylan Grant, 15 points on 6 of 8 shooting, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal. There were, let me get this number correct. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different Scarlet Knights with a steal. Next player we're talking about, Lino Mark led them with 3 steals. Best game of Lino Mark's freshman year by far. He finished with 12 points on 5 of 6 shooting. 2 from the free throw line, an assist, a rebound, 3 steals. Really stepped up in the second half, 7 points on 3 of 4 shooting. Steve Pikiell went with some youth on the court in the second half. Line up with him, with Chris Newley, Jermichael Davis as the secondary guard. And, you could do that because they're up double digits. You're feeling comfortable in the game, but the guys did not, let their feet take the foot off the pedal. They kept going at it, and a lot of that was because Lino Mark was aggressive, getting to the rim, forcing steals, playing good defense. Again, a very encouraging performance from him, especially coming off of, he played 30 seconds in the last game, and the game prior to that, he was out with a back injury. So encouraging performance from Lino Mark. And again, in a period where, guys are playing for their spots next year. They're doing this is essentially a audition for Steve Pikiell, for the staff, for General Manager Rob Sullivan, who's evaluating the roster. And I'll go our first chat here. Ryan Forbes says thanking us for the interview with Rob Sullivan, sharing it for free. We share everything for free on the Rutgers Rant YouTube for now. I don't see that changing anytime soon, to be clear. But of course, thank you guys for watching, and the feedback has been good. People have been happy to have that interview, and I thought it went pretty well. And I thought Rob Sullivan was he wasn't able to be very specific, but I don't know if anyone in his position is able to. But I thought he answered the questions as eloquently, and I thought he gave a good insight into what his day-to-day role is and how he's kind of viewing the last few weeks and his first true off season as the Rutgers GM. But getting back to the point, for Lino Mark, for these younger guys, and for the entire roster, really, this is an audition for making the roster next year, making a case for to be on the roster next year. Or if you're not on this roster next year, when you enter the transfer portal and audition for other prospective schools, I think it's attractive for another school. If you finish the season hot, you could always sell that as you're an ascending player, especially if you're a freshman. Speaking of freshmen, the other standout today, a lot of standouts offensively today, Haroon Zerno, 13 points. Yes, he was 4 of 10 shooting, but he was 3 of 9 on threes, and he hit his first 3 of his first 7. He missed his last 2, started off well. Another good game from beyond the arc. He had the numbers up before. So in his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games, this is the 6th straight game with multiple made 3-pointers. Prior to that, he had 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games, 8 games all season. 8 of his first 20. 8 of his first 20 had multiple 3-point makes, and now he's had 6 straight with multiple 3-point makes. So again, another encouraging performance for Haroon Zerno, who, as we said on the podcast before, he's a guy that if you can get him to give you 15 to 20 minutes where he can hold his own, relatively defensively, and can go on the offensive end and shoot and hit 2-3 threes per game and be that sharpshooter, it's a very valuable thing for Rutgers next year. So again, he's continuing to, demonstrate his resume or bump up his resume and make his own case. I'll go now through the chats. Ryan Forbes says that the team is definitely improving. The college basketball crown will be a great reward for this group. I think they are certainly pleading their case for the college basketball crown. Again, the criteria for that is a bit murky. I'm not quite sure how the selection process is. Obviously, Fox runs it. Fox has right to the Big Ten. Fox will want Big Ten and Big East teams that are on their networks to be in the tournament. And I think if Rutgers is able to squeeze in a 14th, 13th place finish, certainly they'll be an attractive a team for that tournament. And I think it could be positive for Rutgers if they think they want to keep a good chunk of this roster, which I'm not sure they do, and I'm not sure that's the right move considering how they're playing the season. But all that being said, it is another opportunity to for the players to showcase themselves and for the coaching staff to get a good feel for what they have. So we shall see. But that might be a trip to Las Vegas I will make. Linda Conroy says, happy for the win. I think you should be, right? There's no like draft lottery in college basketball. There's no tanking. There's no real reason or benefit for a team to lose. So while the win doesn't really mean much in the grand scheme of things, or at least relative to what this team was aspiring for at the peak of the Pikiell era, it is nice to get a win. It's nice to get the little gains of competing for a first round bye in the Big Ten tournament. this team would need a miracle run to a Big Ten tournament title to make the NCAA tournament, obviously. And having one less game to play turns the chance from 0.1% to 0.5%, whatever. The point being, it's good to enjoy a win, right? So it's good for Rutgers, a dominant win. And the first two Big Ten wins were in overtime. The game against Maryland was a little bit tight until the end when Rutgers pulled away. This was a dominant performance from start to finish. And it's good for Rutgers fans to have a bit of a breather. Brando says he doesn't know anything about Rutgers. Doesn't know anything about basketball, but he bet the game. Yes, the game is over. Rutgers won by 13 points, and they were 4.5-point underdogs. So no matter what you had, whether you had the line or the spread, money line or the spread, you're good to go. Unless you had Penn State, in which case you're not in a good spot. All right, guys. I mean, that's really all I had for the game. Good performance from Rutgers. Good performance from a quartet of guys. Good for Rutgers to beat what is, I think, obviously now the worst team in the Big Ten. Some of the season was showing that Rutgers is not the worst team in the Big Ten, and beating Penn State on the road, in what is essentially a library. It's always been a library. But to do that is, again, we predicted Rutgers to finish 17th in the Big Ten, as did the majority of Big Ten media. And Rutgers has proved that, A, it's certainly not the worst team in the Big Ten, the way it beat down Penn State today, and B, it could probably or maybe finish higher than 17th. So, again, whatever that's worth is what it's worth, but it is what it is. Linda Conroy says any win against Penn State is a good win. I understand that sentiment. I just think the Penn State basketball is such a different animal than Penn State football. It just does not seem like they care about basketball there. It's insane. Even when they were really good, and Michael Shrewsbury had it going there, they were legitimately a top 30, 35 team. They were in the NCAA tournament. They were playing interesting basketball. I don't know if it's necessarily fun basketball, but interesting basketball. Even then, that place wasn't really rocking like it should have been. So it's a shame Penn State doesn't, essentially just throws in the towel on basketball. But to the Rutgers fan psyche, I totally understand beating Penn State in horseshoe, in chess, in whatever would be a satisfying win. It's always good to beat a rival. And I certainly think that, while the Venmo rivalry series is not a legitimate thing, they at least came close to it here by calling Rutgers Penn State a rivalry instead of like Rutgers Oregon or whatever it was for football. So Alana Cone, I apologize, I can't quite read that name, but they say great job and enjoy the post-game live rants, and to keep up the good work. Much appreciated. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate all of you for tuning in, for liking, for subscribing, and for staying at the Heldridge, which I think I'm pointing at the right direction now, because I've been told I point in the wrong direction. Stay at the Heldridge if you're staying in downtown New Brunswick. Now, football season, whatever. Does anybody else have any comments, any thoughts on the game, any big picture outlook, any thoughts on the interview with Rob Sullivan while we're here? I'll hang out for a couple more minutes if people want to chat or have their thoughts. But really, there's not much to talk about this game other than Rutgers really dominated. They let their foot off the gas defensively in the second half and let Penn State hang around somewhat. They did answer on the offensive end. Rutgers shot 55. Oh, sorry, wrong side. Rutgers shot 56.6% from the floor, despite shooting only 31.3% on threes. They were 14 of 19 at the rim, including 12 of 17 on layups. So they got to the rim a decent amount. Let me do the math here, though, because if they had 19 shots at the rim and 16 shots from three, that's 35 shots. That means 18 of their shots were mid-range jumpers, and that means they made 13 of them. Sorry, not 13. They made doing math here. They made 11 of them, which is pretty good. 11 makes on 18 shots, non-rim twos. It's pretty good. It's not sustainable, but it's pretty good if you can do that in a game. And obviously, it was good enough for Rutgers to beat Penn State. Sam Trub asks, how does this set up against Minnesota on Saturday? Meaning, how do they stack up compared to Penn State? Minnesota is better than Penn State. I would say every team in the Big Ten is better. I think they're they have better personnel and they're better coached. I think Nico Medved will have Minnesota playing very well in the future when he has more horses to run with. They beat Michigan State at home earlier this month. They went on the road and just beat Oregon. They're going to have they went on the road and beat Oregon yesterday. So they're going to have some days of rest. but they are coming back off their West Coast trip, which obviously, as we've seen, is never a positive spot to be. Minnesota leads the country in assist rate. 72.2% of their makes are assisted. So they pass the ball well. They don't particularly shoot well, and they get blocked a lot, but they are a very pass-heavy team. They are defensively solid across all marks. They don't block many shots. They don't force many non-steal turnovers, but they are solid defensively. So I don't think it's a not winnable game for Rutgers, but it'll be much tougher than the Penn State game, no doubt about that. It's this fear that Rutgers has not had success in. Obviously, one positive is that they went there and won and clinched their first NCAA tournament bid in 30 years. The Jacob Young game, the exciting season finale there. So there are good memories there, but there's also the loss in 22-23. Andre Hyatt didn't turn around and dribble up court, and the inbounds were bad, and Rutgers blew that game and missed the NCAA tournament because of it. So extremes on Rutgers lives on the extremes in Minnesota. Obviously, nothing close to those stakes this Saturday. My point being, it's a house of hoarders, so to speak, for Rutgers, that place, and we'll have to overcome probably some talent discrepancy. Again, I don't think Minnesota is particularly good, but they beat Michigan State, and they have 5 Big Ten wins. So this is a game where if you win, you take another step forward in the Big Ten standings, and you continue to show that while you might not be able to play well against the top teams in this league outside of Michigan State, which plays down to its competition constantly, you are able to beat down teams at or below your level. So I mean, there is value to that, I think, being able to the easiest or the third easiest schedule remaining in the Big Ten according to Bart Torres. There are winnable games. At the game, win half of this 5 away from Minnesota and home versus Penn State. I think it's likely that Rutgers wins 2 of those 4. The heart of the 2 Penn State games on the road, I think beating them at home, I mean, they'll be favored. And, at home, I think it's road, and Minnesota and Washington, I think they'll win 1. I'm not sure which one. Llewellyn is not quite sure what that means. We've only been on for 18 minutes, so but I really, again, don't have much more to say. So unless you guys have anything else to add, it might be again, Rutgers will be coming back soon. Or just now. If it's chopping out the whole time, I'll be very upset. I'm breaking up a lot. Again, now or breaking up the whole time? This is because if I've been breaking up for you, I wish you guys experiment with something. All right, I'm not gonna sound as good. But I think I will be less choppy now. You guys let me know if the audio change is helpful at all. All right, last few minutes. All right, cool. I must have touched the mic wire some way and screwed it up. This stuff is very sensitive and very annoying. Anyway, I will answer this from Mike Holdowski that Ken Palm has Rutgers as a 10-point underdog to Yale. I'm assuming on a neutral court. That sounds about right. I think Rutgers would be underdogs to, I don't know if half the teams in college basketball, but a good chunk of them. Penn State, again, is the worst team in the Big Ten. That's why they looked very good today. But I would be interested to watch that, certainly. I think it'd be a good matchup. Thank you guys for letting me know the audio is better. And thank you again. Always appreciate when you guys let me know that it's not good. Because if it's not good and you guys can't understand what I'm saying, we're all wasting our time here. So on that note, again, I hate to keep asking for questions, comments, but I will take any before heading out here. I appreciate you guys tuning in. It's an earlier night tonight, obviously, not as bad as the UCLA night, which was at midnight or whatever it was, but a nice, quick, easy night. You guys can tune into the Seton Hall game if you like, or watch many good college basketball games. Other than that, I really have nothing else. So I'm gonna call it here, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for participating. Sam Trump asks why I think Penn State is ranked higher on KenPom. KenPom takes the whole season approach. I think Rutgers got docked a lot for its 40-point loss to Michigan. I mean, these are efficiency metrics, right? So it's not only the results, but it's also how efficient you were in these performances. Rutgers really has not had a blowout win until today. It did move up 10 spots on KenPom because of that. And Penn State looks like it fell 8 spots. But Rutgers was docked a lot because they got blown out by Michigan. It got blown out by Purdue. It got blown out by Tennessee. It lost to Central Connecticut State by 13 points at home. It only beat Delaware State by 15. It barely scraped by Penn. It needed overtime for 2 of its wins. It got destroyed by Illinois. So I guess my point here is that Rutgers lost a lot, and they lost by a lot of points in a lot of those losses, and they don't have a win, aside from today maybe, to push back to balance things out. So that's why. And Penn State, I was looking at it earlier, they don't have a bad loss. I should say they don't have a bad loss in the way Central Connecticut State was a bad loss. They did lose by 41 points at Indiana, which is incredible. They lost by 34 points in a neutral game against Pitt. They lost, they lost by 23 to Maryland on the road. They lost by 27 to Wisconsin. And they lost by 21 at Northwestern. So they lost to Michigan on the road. They lost by 41 points, just like Rutgers did. So they share equally bad losses, blowout wise, but they don't have a Central Connecticut State loss, I guess is the answer to that. So I think, by the end of the year, things will probably flip if Rutgers continues to play as well as it has in the last couple of weeks. All right. Well, again, thanks again for tuning in, guys. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe, like the video, keep tuning in. We'll have some good stuff over the last couple of weeks as the season ends, and try to stay, engaged until spring football. Then spring football's here, and then before you know it, we're at football season, and things go on and on and on. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate it. Shout out to Alec Crothamel, who's usually in these comments. He's hard at work in State College, the only Rutgers beat writer who made the trip to State College. I make it every year. I couldn't make it this year, unfortunately. And it's funny that the one year I don't go is the year they have the blowout win. Usually these games are pretty back and forth and close or dramatic or whatever. But yes, shout out to Alec. I know this trip isn't easy. It's a boring drive. It's long. But I'm glad it was a game that was worth it for him, and looking forward to seeing the post-game comments that Pikel gives to him. So, again, shout out to Alec. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll talk soon. Stay at the Heldrick. See you later.